Hi guys, welcome to the Ultimate Guide Group. My name is Chen, and today we'll be discussing practical tips that we use and you could use to help yourself budget.
So how I did mine, so I looked at my spending over 3 months, and I did it over July and August, which is normally my spending months because August is my birthday. So I'm like, okay, let me do it and like plan for the month that I know I'm going to spend a lot, and then looked at my expenses and how much I spent on shopping, on food, on like mortgage, all that kind of stuff, and then from those amounts created a budget or a budgeting amount in my budget.
For me, I started budgeting around the time when I was planning to buy property. So I started writing down things like my pay and tracking how much I spent, and then I think that's pretty much how my budget started. I was just trying to keep a hold on what I spent on things like Netflix, travel, food, partying. I'm definitely someone who spends a lot of money when I go out. So I'd keep a track of that and how long it would take me with my present lifestyle at that time to buy the kind of property at the value that I wanted. That's how I built my budget.
Okay, so I was a really bad spender. Like, I didn't have a budget. I was like all over the place. So I actually had to sit down with somebody to go through all my expenses, figure out, okay, I wanted to have this amount to actually enjoy myself, and then everything I could save, I would save. So that's how I came up with my budget.
So I had an idea of how much I wanted to save in a year, and then I divided that by 12 to find out how much I wanted to save every month, and then allocated my expenses around how much I wanted to save every month.
So the way that I do it is I put my salary, which is my main source of income, and then I pay myself first. So I make sure that I put money towards my savings and then also put towards my investments. And my investments at least will come to about like 20% of my salary, and my like savings is about 50. More like, as Penny was saying, like 40 to 45, but I then put money towards like fixed expenses, so like mortgage, TV, council tax, etc. And then I go into my discretionary expenses, so things that I know I need to spend on, like food or like my credit card bills, but like they're kind of discretionary. Like if I lost my job tomorrow, I could just remove them from my budget because I don't actually need them. And then I have like my lifestyle fund, which is like holidays. I love traveling, so I make sure that I put enough money into my account so that I can do that, and I have a separate account for that. I then like put money towards like Christmas, birthdays, and just enjoyment really.
Okay, before I bought my property, I took a very straightforward approach. So I saved 50% of my salary. So when I think I was making about 3,000, I would save like 1,500 straight off the bat, and then what was left of that, I would then try and apportion in a way that suited my lifestyle. So I'd probably spend a bit more on like going out, and then I would save what was left. Now that I've got a property, I've flipped that completely on its head. So the first thing I do is I pay my mortgage and I pay all my bills, so council tax, gas, water, electric, and then I have a line underneath my budget where I cover things like my subscriptions, so Netflix, Amazon, my Apple Music, and then afterwards I then pay any kind of outstanding debt that I have. For example, my credit card, and I'll explain why my credit card comes up every month. I get my salary, or I pay myself a salary into my NatWest account, and then I leave the money in there for my mortgage and my bills. I transfer money to my Monzo for my living, so my fund money, and then I actually use my Amex to pay for everything. Firstly, because I get points on that, and it also allows me to, at the end of the month, see in total how much I've spent for the month before I clear it, and I clear my Amex with my Monzo. So anything left in my Monzo is free money that I can either put back in my NatWest to save, or I can use to pay my Amex. So that's how I manage my 3 accounts. And then afterwards I say, okay, this is how much I call it a disposable income line on my budget, and then I'm a bit more free with how I spend my disposable income. So that much money is just, I'll allocate what I think is useful, or how much I think I would like to spend in a month, and then after that I save last. That's because I've reached my main financial goal, which was to own a property. So I'm probably a bit less stringent with myself now, but I definitely took a very strict approach going in to begin with.
Very similar to Enny, I set up 3 different accounts. So I have my current account, which is where all my bills and like mortgage payments and council tax and all that stuff goes out. And then I also have like a holiday fund, which is like what I love to travel. So I make sure that that's filled up as much as it possibly can to plan for any holidays that I have throughout the year. And then I also have like a me fund, which is kind of just the enjoyment. And so if I don't have the money in the me fund, we staying at home. Like there's nothing else for us to be doing.
For me, so I been trying to save for a house. So every month I save almost 50%. It's not 50%, it's more like 45 of my salary. I figure out what I need to pay bills wise, and then the rest is left for enjoyment. I like to shop, I have to admit that, and then maybe I put a little bit to take over to next month, just so I don't feel like I've spent all my money by the end of the month. I am a pen and paper girl. I'm old school. Like, I write stuff down on a post-it note, like all my bills. I stick it in the back of my phone. Every time I want to go buy something in the shop, I open it and I'm like, so I'll just leave. Yeah, so that's how I do it. And then also I use Monzo just to see how much I'm spending every week. So I put like my weekly allowance when I was like commuting and stuff into my Monzo to spend.
Recently, I've been using apps such as Yolt to track my spending, similar to you.
I use an Excel spreadsheet. I used to use like pen and paper and use my phone and like the notes app, but after a while I was like, this is too much. I actually need somebody to do all that. I'm like crap at maths, so I need somebody to like do all the math and all the formula for me, and if I put it into like one cell, it will then have an impact on everything else, and I know where all the money is going. And it also, like, I don't know, I quite like putting in the numbers because it makes me feel that like, yeah, like I've got this money in the bank, like, you know, actually feels good to like put those numbers in.
In terms of tools that I use, so yeah, I have an Excel spreadsheet that I've used for years. I built it myself, and I keep, I guess, editing and adding to it as I go along, as I move through my career, my financial goals. I add new tabs to it. The other thing that I use as well is, if I'm applying for a permanent job, I would search for, or I use a tool called Take Home Pay Calculator. I'm working as a contractor right now, so I use contractor to permanent salary calculator, and also use a day rate calculator to calculate how much I should be taking home at the end of every month. I also use my bank statement, so I'm definitely a big advocate for check your bank statement every day. So every morning I wake up, the first thing I do, rather than Instagram, I check my bank statements, I check my credit score, and then I go on LinkedIn. So those are my 3 morning habits. So those are the main tools I use: my Excel, take home pay calculator, day rate to permanent salary calculator, day rate calculator, and then checking my bank statement and my credit score.
And I forgot to say, I do the exact same thing. So I look at my like account every morning. So I have an online banking app, just to make sure that like everything that I thought I spent like is where it is, like the amount that I think it is where it should be, and nobody's like gone into my account and done anything that doesn't need to be done, and like I can see all the money in my account. And I also use like Amex, so my American Express card, to basically pay for everything. And so that will normally come up with like a notification every time I spend. And so before I clear that notification, I make sure that I've transferred in the money so that I can clear it. So it's actually like clear it from my phone, like notification center, and it's also cleared from my like account balance.
I lie. I lie to myself a lot. I am the sort of person that will spend, because I'm not spending it necessarily directly at my current account, it's like I haven't spent it. So if I use my credit card for a purchase instead of my debit card, I'm like, wow, still on budget, but actually you're not, because you're gonna have to pay that money back. So one thing that I've kind of tried to do to overcome that pitfall is to just spend from one account. Anything I'm gonna spend has to come from that one account.
For me, it's the whole notion of ignorance is bliss. I would stay away from checking my account. If I think I don't have money, I won't spend it. In that way, I'm not tracking my spending because I'm not actually checking my account. So that pushes me back from actually meeting my goals.
I used to underestimate so much in terms of like what I actually put in my budget.
I've actually thought of a final pitfall as well. I think definitely with having a car and having a home, one of the things when you're putting your budget together is you need to leave yourself some cushion for unexpected expenses. So it could be a window breaking, or you needing to fix a tire on your car, and that is not something you can really plan for, but you need to be flexible with your budget as well. You can't be so rigid in your thinking that, okay, well, I'm not going to drive for the rest of the month because it's not part of my budget. So try and have some kind of contingency money, or be wary that you could spend a bit more than what you've planned. And one thing I do with my budget sheet is I always write a reason for why I've under or overspent each month. So I would say something like I had to pay for X cost, and I try and account for how I'm going to make that money back over the next few months. So be putting an extra £50 aside to cover the cost that I spent in February. But being very flexible in that way means that I'm still aiming or going towards my goals, but I'm taking a very pragmatic approach to doing it.
Everybody has to save a particular amount. I think budgeting is not a one-size-fits-all rule. Everybody has to kind of allocate their budget personally to what they like and how they are.
Mine will be that it's too early to start budgeting, or that I will start budgeting when I'm earning X, Y, and Z amount. No matter how much you're earning, it's always good to actually get the habits in place to start saving and budgeting.
What I heard once was that, oh, I'm earning like a certain amount of money, like you don't need to budget, because they heard budget and like attached to it cheap, like, or like frugal, or you don't have money to be able to budget, which is like the I can't think of a phrase or an understanding that is completely incorrect. It's like everybody needs to budget. Like the biggest companies in the world budget for the year to make sure that they know what money is going out, where it's going, how they're spending, and then to work out if they need to like either reallocate or get more money in. So it's so important to be able to budget. Like budget doesn't mean cheap, it just means that you're being smart with your money and you're tracking the money in and money out.
I think personally for me, the worst piece of advice that I think personally is spending your whole life saving. I actually believe that you should, after you've paid your financial commitments, the things that would affect your credit score if you were to pay them, I think the next thing you should do is pay yourself, and also be generous with yourself. Give yourself something that you think is realistic for you to go out and have fun. So try and be pragmatic with how you save. Save what's realistic rather than I have to buy a house in 2 years' time, so I'm going to save everything and only give myself £50.
Budgeting has actually helped me look at how much I've been spending, for example, for some of my necessities, and actually highlight where I could try and seek a cheaper quote. For example, for my car insurance or, mobile phone bills. Because I have an idea of how much I want to save, I'm looking for other ways I can cut down my expenditure. Then after a while, it actually motivated me, because I realized, you know what? It's still going to take me a while to reach my saving goals, so maybe I need to earn a bit more money. So it motivated me to apply for higher paying jobs, or also look for other ways that I can make money.
I think what I've gained the most from budgeting is, firstly, it's helped motivate me in terms of aiming for a bigger salary. So one of the tabs on my budget is a salary tracker, and I'm tracking year on year how much I'm making per month, and I'm also calculating a percentage, and I'm trying to essentially explain to myself what drivers and motivators help me earn a bigger salary. The other thing as well is, I think from budgeting, it's made me more accountable about my actions as well. And one thing I've noticed over the years is I've stopped buying clothes as much because I genuinely didn't need it. I was in a habit before of buying clothes constantly, and when I'm seeing Boohoo, ASOS popping up on my card statement, then I said to myself, is this really necessary? So after that, I actually started spending more money on clothes but buying less clothes. So things that I thought were value and would last longer rather than buying more clothes.
But just have a little bit saved away, even if it's just like an extra £30-40 a month.
And mine will be save sooner rather than later, so don't wait to reach a certain point to start saving.
I think you actually need to budget month by month. Like, I don't think you can budget like for the year in January and decide what you're going to spend in, I don't know, September or October. It's literally just been this year because of Miss Corona and the fact that I have more time on my hands. I've actually realized that what I need to be doing is recognizing there are some months which are more spendy months. So August is my birthday, I know I'm going to spend more around that time. December I go home to Nigeria and I want to go to Ghana, like I know I'm going to spend more around that time. So for that reason, I need to put that money into my budget. Otherwise, like the money that I would spend in February, which is a shorter month, or March, won't cover me for August and December.
The advice I wish I had was just start somewhere. Because I think early on, like I said, I would just cut my money in half, and then that was enough to budget. But I think it's really important, firstly, to start somewhere in terms of actually physically budgeting, be it a piece of paper, writing it on your phone, because that also makes you more accountable when you're looking back and comparing what you've done versus what you plan to do. So I think that would be my biggest one, just, start somewhere.